there, good afternoon. So here we are, Cecil Extian and
Hello, everybody.
Maria Extian, and we are in the process of having a conversation about meditation. At this point in English, then we will also be recording one in Portuguese, where the roles will be reversed and Cecil will be the host rather than myself. And the conversation is going to be similar, yet probably not the same, because the questions are very much the same, or let's say what we want to cover is very much the same, but because each one of us is coming from his or her map of meditation, you're going to probably find some similarities, but at the same time different things. So thank you for watching, and I hope this comes to be worth the time you're investing on listening to it. So let's get started. And yep. And the first question that I would like to ask you is very much, how would you explain meditation?
Well, meditation is a practice, a form of relaxation, a form of reaching your higher self as per se. Whether you come from a religious perspective, whether you come from a practical perspective, whether you come from a Zen perspective, it means something different for everybody. But the crux of the matter of meditation is, and this is what I've taken out of it, from a practical point of view, from a practical standpoint, whereby you can achieve the results that you want. It is a form, firstly, of relaxation. We all need oxygen. We can't survive without oxygen. We can survive without food, we can survive without water for a certain amount of time, but oxygen is the one thing that our body needs. And so much of the time we deprive ourselves of oxygen. So it's just a question of, again, oxygenating our bodies, becoming in a relaxed state whereby we can remove ourselves from our current situation as it is now, the hustle and the bustle of our lives, switch off the cell phones, forget about the iPad or the television or the kids at school, and then just being in the present. And that is where we can affect change, whether it is in our own lives, whether it is for someone else, whether it is with the COVID-19 virus, whereby we want to improve our immune system, the way we look at it, and also the way we connect with other people. So it is the intention. What intention do we put out there when we've reached a stage whereby we're completely relaxed? We've removed ourselves from all the ideas and thoughts and negativity of what happened in the past. We remove the past. We also remove the future, because tomorrow, nothing's happened yet tomorrow. We've got all these negative thoughts that we put on our head. What's going to happen tomorrow? What's someone going to think? How am I going to do this? But when we can just focus on the present moment, that's where we can find the answers to the questions that we have. Without judgment, because it is a place, it's a safe place for me. It's a place where I can go and I don't judge myself for my past mistakes. I don't have other people judging me. I can just feel the connection. I can just feel that I am. I am is a single noun, plural, for to be. So that is where I'm just to be, and you find the connection with your higher self. We all know about the subconscious. The subconscious drives our behaviors. What happened to us in the past as children, it's stored in the subconscious, and it affects our behavior in the present and our thoughts for the future. But when we can remove the future and we remove the past and we just come from this place of no judgment, which is our higher self, I can at least, the way I've used meditation is I can access my subconscious and I can put all these thoughts in order and I can decide what is important and I can start understanding why I have certain emotions in certain circumstances. The understanding is one thing, but with meditation I can also actually change it. I can change the way I feel about myself. I can change the way I feel about other people. I can change the way that other people feel about me. And once I've changed that, then it comes from a place of acceptance and just realizing that I am enough.
All that from breath work.
And the intention. I remember I said it's the breath, it's the breathing, the relaxation, and then what do you do? It's what do we do in that stage, isn't it? Because so often we are in a state of relaxation, we're in a state of trance. I mean, you've been in the car before, I'm certain, where you've driven and all of a sudden you realize, oh, I should have turned off there, or oh, I should turn off here, But what is it that you've done in that state where you completely just focused on the present? Did you feed yourself negative affirmations? Did you constantly worry about the money that's not in your pocket? Did you constantly worry about, did you think about, oh, I've got to get home, the kiddos haven't eaten, I've got to do this, I've got to do that? Or did you use that moment of my own space and do something positive?
Now you mentioned something there which is, like the thoughts that so very often overwhelm us. And there's a lot of people that I know, or let's say there's quite a few people that I know that tend to resist meditation. So exactly because of that, because they've got this idea that in order to meditate, you completely have to block your thoughts. And as we know, that's a bit difficult to do because, gosh, we have so many thoughts a day. It's part of our default setting, coming with thousands of thoughts a day. So what would you say to someone who resists meditation?
What you resist will persist.
That's a good one.
I've resisted for a long time. I needed something in my life to just ground me a little bit. Not a little bit, quite a lot. I mean, I had and you actually said that to me, that I've got the brain of a Ferrari with the brakes of a bicycle. So how could meditation ever benefit me? How would I ever, someone who's got 100 thoughts in a second, and that's no joke. I would literally sit and my thoughts would be all over the place. In certain circumstances, that's good. That can be beneficial. It's ADHD. But it's understanding those emotions. Okay. So when you approach meditation, a lot of people have this misconception. There's this myth that meditation is clearing your mind and thinking of absolutely nothing. Now, I've not had a moment in my life where I've not been able to think of a single thing. It's unnatural. Meditation does imply a thinking. It does imply the intention phase. But it does narrow your thoughts down to one specific focus. And once you focus on one specific thing, one question, it can be something simple as to, what do I value in life? What are my values? Okay, and myself as a person who as a kid was always in survival mode and fight or flight, I didn't have time to really evaluate what my values are. So from that, a lot of things evolve. But with meditation, you sit And you can answer those questions one at a time because you focus your mind on one specific thing to get a result or an answer. So you don't have to, you go into a phase, you go into relaxation, but you still think of something. You create your intention before you go into that mode. And for 4 minutes, that's the norm to start with. You know, that's for beginners meditation. Sit and meditate for 4 minutes. But after 5 seconds of meditation, your mind can start going somewhere else. And that's okay. That's hundreds, it happens to everybody. All that you do then is you grab yourself and bring yourself back. Listen, okay, I've thought of something else. It's okay, bring myself back. If you do that for 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, you know, a positive thought, you put a positive thought in your intention while you're in that relaxed state, one thought affects the other thought. When you change one cell within the body, the next cell changes. So it's like a domino effect, you know, and you get better at it, and you get more relaxed, and you get more attuned in how you can tune your brain in order to focus. And that's where the healing comes, because within that present, and coming back to that present moment, that one focus, whether it's for 10 seconds, 2 minutes, 20 minutes, you've started healing. You've started realizing things which were very unclear to you in the past. You start knowing yourself better. Your connection to the world and to the people start increasing. So I take it a little bit like this. You know, if you water 1 grain of sand, you cannot help but water the next grain of sand as well. And the next one will get wet, and the next one will get wet. And at the end, it's a chain reaction. So you start from a place whereby it was difficult to meditate. But with practice, it gets better, and it gets easier for you. It gets easier. So yeah, meditation is for everybody. I mean, if I can do it in the state of mind that I found myself in, which I still sometimes have to stop, it's a process. It's a learning process, and with practice makes perfect. However, no perfection, but it's for everybody, you know. And the people with the minds who say that they can't sit still for 5 minutes, this is exactly for them.
Exactly. That reminds me, not necessarily my stance towards meditation, but towards yoga. I used to think the same. I used to, so often, there was a friend of mine who used to be a yoga practitioner, and I'm sure she still is, but we haven't been in contact for a long time now. But she used to go to yoga, and she would invite me to go to yoga, and I kept saying, that's not for me. I'm too quick for yoga. I'm too active. Until the day that I actually went through a yoga class, and I surrendered to the practice, because the way I left the practice was unbelievable, and in many ways it actually helped me later on, because my first practice was in South Africa, and in the gym that we were going to. And then when I came back, I remember 1 year that I was teaching in a school here in the Algarve, the region where we live, and I was having serious trouble with one of my classes. It was a class of kids who work on the beach, and they were all very hectic, and it was a very special class, and which was driving me basically up the walls. And so I started doing yoga as well, and at that point, and I would do it exactly before the class, and it was amazing the way that I could actually be under check without cracking up, and and So it's quite interesting because I was there too. I was also that person that resisted, not necessarily meditation, but meditation and yoga have a lot of things in common. So for me, then transitioning to meditation, it was quite easy because I had already surrendered to yoga. So then going from yoga to meditation was not a huge challenge. But yeah, just to share a little bit of my story, because I suppose that for a lot of people who resist meditation, my story in some way is going to touch some of the reasons why
Yes.
they
Look, like I said, what you resist, you will persist for. And if you only look at the medium meditation is one of various forms. I mean, yoga complements it from a physical standpoint, but also a mental standpoint. It grounds you, relaxes you, and gives you space to think clearly. And meditation, like I said earlier, there are various forms of meditation, practice over all different cultures in the world. There's written evidence that meditation is in existence since 1500 BC. That's the written evidence. Now, why do we meditate? Why do we do something? Because there's a benefit to us. There's something missing in our life, and you find that this could actually help me. And when you start looking at the benefits, then the I can't do it or I'm too fast for it, that sort of becomes irrelevant because you focus on the benefit. And again, it's a question of focus. And it is so clear that the benefits of meditation, I mean, there's been over 1,400 separate studies done on meditation and its benefits worldwide. Everybody has come up with different benefits, so they are benefits. And the one thing that they all agree on is it is beneficial.
Neuroscience, which has been big since the 90s now, itself has actually proven that meditation is definitely beneficial from a point of view of how our brain works, and by understanding how the brain works, and by actually self-regulating, we can actually be at our best in terms of as a person or even as a professional, because it does help us self-regulate, which is something that is it's a characteristic that only human beings have. It's actually what distinguishes us from any other mammal or any other animal, the fact that we can self-regulate. It's a pity that it's actually not taught.
Self-regulation.
It's like we've got the tool, but we don't know how to.
Exactly. I mean, it's a lot of people read about it, and the meditation training that I do is very practical. It's very simple. It teaches people various techniques. First, breathing, and it touches different styles of meditation. But the main thing is learning, teaching someone, training someone, and practicing with them how to clear all the clutter. I mean, if I've got a glass full of water, it's full to the brim. I can pour more water into it, but what's inside is going to spill out. It's going to be a mess. I need to empty it a little bit first and pour the clean water that I want in there. Self-regulating. I decide then I can decide this is the type of water I want. This is the type of thoughts I want. And if I do have other thoughts which come in which don't serve me, I know how to deal with it. Or I can sit and meditate and I can ask why and how, and those answers come to you because your brain is empty, your body is empty of all that clutter. You have space.
You actually mentioned something that what you're saying there, and I love the metaphor of the glass full to the brim, and once you pour some more water, it's going to overflow. It's actually quite interesting because most of that is actually a metaphor that we can use with what we do with our emotions, right? Which it seems to me that it's still very prevalent, this idea of not showing our emotions, not letting our emotions, not letting our emotions override us, and that I can understand, but do people realize what they're doing when they actually, if I may give an example or two of, for example, what sometimes happens with parents, by telling a child, don't cry. Why shouldn't the child cry? Or I remember an episode that it was actually quite recent to me, where I was with a family member and I was upset and I was, teary, and I had tears coming down my face. And what that family member actually told me was, because there were people approaching, was, oh, don't let you see you like that. And immediately I went to my default setting, which has to be with my conditioning, and I put a brave face. But 30 seconds later, being aware as I am of the power of emotions, I was thinking, what are you doing? Why would you not show your emotions? They're there for a reason. So would you say, what would you say to people that still think that emotions are there to be suppressed? And in what way can meditation actually address that situation? Does that make sense?
Of course, and do you see it so often? You see it in the workplace, you see it at homes, you see it that people are suppressing their emotions. Let's ask this question. If a pressure cooker, if you take the lid of a pressure cooker too fast and you don't know what's in that pressure cooker, everything's going to explode. So emotions, firstly, we are fearful of emotions. We are fearful of showing our emotions. We've been taught from a young age, boys don't cry, or don't be emotional. And it's not the emotions that I think are the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Correct emotions, regulated emotions,
Mm.
Knowing your emotions, knowing which emotions are good for you, and knowing how to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they're good emotions because they give the reflection of how you feel inside. So if you feel happy, if you feel good about yourself, those emotions are good. It's when you start feeling sad, and sadness is okay. You can feel sad sometimes. Someone hurt you today. Someone did something which you're not happy with. And from my opinion is, if you're sad, I haven't got a problem with you being sad. People have a problem of how do I react to that person being sad.
Exactly.
So they start questioning their own emotions and their own reactions to it.
Yeah, but that's very telling, because if someone tells you, don't cry, in fact, it's because they themselves have trouble dealing with
Correct.
someone crying.
Correct.
Right? But that means that coming from that paradigm is going to be passed on to you, and if you're not aware of the pattern, you might actually also pass it on to someone else, right?
Correct. And then with meditation, what you can do is, when you're in that space of non-judgment, because you're crying, I don't know how to handle the fact that you're not crying, because I don't know what is making you sad, and I'm also starting to have emotional reactions. Okay? So I can react to that, I can tell you not to cry, and I can't, my behavior, my reaction doesn't benefit you, where I want to be compassionate, where I want to be caring. But I'm stuck here in this against this brick wall of, I don't know how to deal with it. I feel uncomfortable because all the noise that I got as a child was, crying is not good. You're going to get a hiding if you cry. I mean, I remember the story at school, and you get a hiding at school. If you get back home, you get another hiding because you got a hiding at school.
Yeah.
So in the end, what happens? It's a vicious circle. Now, when one of those parties decide, listen, I want to take myself out of this. I've got emotions, but what are my emotions in certain circumstances? How do those emotions dictate my behavior, my reactions? Does it serve me or does it not? Now, those answers for me, when in meditation, I can find the answers to those questions. I can then also go and find out, does it serve me or does it not? Because the answers I get is not from my past where I was conditioned in order to believe in a certain thing, or from the future, my fear of what someone else is going to say. It's from the here and the now. I'm connected to my higher being. My higher being knows what's happening in my subconscious. But I've got access to my higher being. I've got access I get the answers clearly. And from there you can start effecting the change. Because if you have the answer, if you know that in a situation where someone is crying and you don't know how to handle it, and you know it comes from the past because of how you were brought up, the fact that crying wasn't allowed at home, you can start analyzing and deciding for yourself, is that a belief that I really believe? Do I really believe that? Or is it just because it was conditioned in me? I was conditioned to believe it. If you find that that belief is not in line with your heart and your mind, you can start changing that. Whether it is positive affirmations, behavioral change, transformational change, meditation, you can start addressing those things. But the nice thing is, that won't be the only emotion that you don't have control over. Once you start addressing that one emotion, that one thing, and you start feeling the change, it's a chain reaction.
It's like something's got to give.
And
once it does, it's like a domino effect, right?
It's true, it's a domino effect. And
which can be for good or it can be for bad.
It can serve you or it can't serve you.
Yeah.
When it's about the state that we're in. Because if we sit at work with all the pressure, you have a budget that you've got to fulfill, you've got targets that you've got to meet, you've got staff that you've got to guide, you've got staff targets to meet, you're responsible for those things. Now, if you can sit back and say, whoa, in a work situation also, whoa, listen, I've got to be in the right state of mind. I've got to have the right belief system which is congruent with my heart. You can lead those people to a better place because you'll be more calm. You'll be able to sieve through things and filter things and say, okay, this is important, this isn't important. You can put things into perspective from a non-judgmental place.
Now you touched something there which I'm really, really passionate about, which has to do with workplace and also leadership. As you know, I'm really passionate about it.
I know you do the courses in the leadership, yes, and in the workplace you're very clued up on that, yes.
We've got days. However, that's also like meditating. You have to accept you're human and there are going to be good days and days where you won't be at your best, but at least you're striving to be at your best and you're very much aware of what you have to do to or you want to do to be there. But what I wanted to say is that even based on some recent experiences that I had, one in a workplace and the other one in a project, where I found myself very much, due to the environment, like the pressure cooker, coming to the point of the pressure cooker. Isn't it, for lack of a better word, I would say sad, that even in the workplace, to this day, like a little bit like in parenting that I mentioned before, which is a leadership position, because in my opinion, parents are leaders, correct? They have children under their influence, the same way that someone in a workplace who is in a management position or a CEO has people under his or her influence. Isn't it sad to this day that people don't realize how those kinds, putting people under pressure, how that is actually detrimental for what they want to achieve, for for the outcomes that they want to achieve, business-wise and productivity wise?
Well, and this is your field of expertise is neuroscience and how hormones, brain activity, environments, behavior, how all those things fit in and affect each other, and how they linked in the causal relationship. With regards to meditation specifically, stress is the most dangerous health problem that we have at this moment. It underlies many illnesses. It underlies many improductivity in the workplace, unhappiness in the workplace, fear in the workplace. If you fear your boss because what's going to happen if I don't make this target, you're not going to produce, like you say. You're not going to be optimally productive. You're not. And that is why meditation within the workplace, I believe there's such a lack of it. There's such a lack of understanding. And you've got to start somewhere, because I believe you have to, if you start with one person in the workplace or two people in the workplace, it's the domino effect again. I like the domino effect because they do transmit the different energy over. I mean, the World Health, let's coming back to the stress, World Health Organization has stated in 2018 that stress is the biggest risk factor for this generation in terms of their health. Meditation reduces your risk drastically.
It does.
And that's where it comes from. When your body is aligned from your top highest self down to your base, and everything is in tune, and you come from a place of non-judgment, you can be compassionate to other people. You know, that compassion, if I can understand how this person is going to feel in that situation, I'm going to adapt my behavior if I want that person to perform. You know, so it only benefits, and people are starting to realize it. People are starting to realize that there's something else. They're looking for something different. It's just that taking that step, it's got to come from within yourself.
I can't help bringing this up, which is the fact that we are now in social isolation. And do you think that this COVID-19 can have a beneficial effect, bearing what you've just said in mind? Could this be the beginning of a new paradigm?
Look,
where people finally, you know, the simple fact that they have to stop might make them and reorganize their lives and be open to new possibilities, because we are all having to adapt to what this particular virus has brought up on us. And so suddenly you've got teachers at home teaching over the internet. Woo! So suddenly something which is very much technology, which is so often blamed for certain situations, for a lack of connectedness, suddenly they're vital. And if we want to stay connected, we have actually to resort to them. So, you know, people have to, they don't have to, but they could, if they wanted to, take these as a lesson moving forward. Can you see that happening?
yes. if people don't get it by now that the behavior, an act, a thought of someone 3,000, 9,000, 12,000 miles away from you can have an effect on your health where you are. You know? The connection, the connection is already there. Now, when you speak of connection being taken away in terms of human contact because we self-isolated, people are going to find ways to connect. It's the level of connection that's important. I can sit and communicate with someone via Skype or WhatsApp, but are we connecting?
True, but cannot the fact that on the one hand we have technology keeping us connected, right? But at the same time, because we are in social isolation and technology can only do this much, can it not mean that people will value the face-to-face interactions more? Because we are, as humans, touch, connection for us is like the base of our existence. It's actually very much breathing, because we can't live without breathing, but we can also not live without social touch. Without human touch. I mean, there is a well-known research done many years ago, I think it was in Holland, where there was an experiment made with babies, and babies who were not touched, I think it was in Holland, babies who were not touched would actually not survive. They would die. I mean, you could even feed them and change the nappies, but because they were not being held, they would die. And that is so much so that social neuroscience is actually suggesting that the pyramid of the basic needs, Maslow's pyramid, should actually have at the basis as our prime need social connection. It's connectedness. We need that. So can this situation not actually make us aware of the need for more face-to-face connection? Because we do react differently to connection through technology and face-to-face connection. Would you say that? And is that something that this situation could?
I'm certain it could, yes. So a person can only hope that people come out of this more connected instead of more divided, whichever way they find that connection. You know, you've got an elastic band. You pull it, you pull it, you pull it, but when you let it go, it goes back to its natural state.
Mm.
So I do think this phase will blow over. There's been many phases like this in the world before. I mean, I've got my own personal opinions of what is happening, how the earth is cleansing itself. But those are opinions. The connection part of people always want to be connected. People will always find ways to be connected. People, you know, so I believe that part will fix itself. We can use this opportunity to become even more connected with ourselves, our compassion for other people. Send out the compassion, appreciation and gratitude. Because you put that out in the field, you're connecting. It's all connected. But about the human physical nature, the touching part and so forth, I believe that will fix itself. That rectifies. I mean, the earth has a way of cleansing itself. So yes, currently people are at home. They've got their technology and so forth to communicate. It maybe gives people time to think. It maybe gives people time to do some DIY. Yeah, people need to relax a little bit. Also get busy with other things. However, I do believe that the connection, the humane, the touch, it's going to come back, because, like you said, it's a basic human need. Is touching, is love. If babies aren't touched and cuddled when they are young, they die.
Or their development.
Or their developmental,
seriously
exactly.
compromised.
So just to bring it back to the meditation,
Mm-hmm.
it's what you tell yourself. It's how you believe it. That's how you see it. But when people take the moment to access a space where they can really find their true selves and find out what's important to them, not what is said on TV, not what is said in an advertisement, not is what is said by a president who doesn't read a book. You find those answers for yourself from your true self and how you feel, how you're going to deal with it, and it's going to be okay. We're going to come out through this more connected.
I hope so. I certainly hope so.
I believe so.
So you started this conversation by saying that you believe that meditation was for everybody, and I do believe that as well. But do you believe that there are certain people that can benefit the most from this practice, even based on your experience?
Yes. You know, whether you agree with labeling or not with labeling and so forth, you know, it's I do attach a name to it because it gives you an understanding, a basic understanding of what it is that you need to work on. Like myself, I had ADHD, I had PTSD, and my behaviors and actions were completely driven by my emotions, negative emotions, cortisol-filled emotions, stressed emotions. So my behaviors would always be negative to my well-being.
Mm-hmm.
I would also, you know, so people who suffer from ADHD, who have difficulty focusing their mind, kids who've gone through trauma when they were young, you know, they have a lot of values instilled in them, but it's other people's values which might, you know, it's good or bad, but it's not resonance. It doesn't resonate with them. It's not aligned with their being. So yes, kids who've gone through trauma, kids who have trouble relaxing, people who are under stress, constant stress, you know, there is a way to regulate that stress. So yes, it is for everybody, but from my experience and how to work it better, ADHD, business leaders, managers, workers in work environment, who just want to be able to take 5 minutes out, ground themselves, and understand how to manage better, how to lead better. You know, to find those answers within yourself that you don't always find in a book. So, broad spectrum of people for everybody, but in my meditation courses, we focus on young people, young leaders who want to improve their emotional state, who want to have control of their emotions, who want to regulate the emotions, who want to be more compassionate in order so that covers over to their staff. From my personal experience, kids with ADHD, adults with ADHD who have suffered trauma in the past, who have trouble at this moment, finding the tools in order to sort their minds out, you know, just to find themselves, to regulate their emotions, PTSD. So yeah, those are the ones: ADHD, PTSD, young business leaders who want to see the future for themselves, and also just people who just want to find out practically, what is my purpose in life? There were so many. That was for me. You know, I know the negative things which happened in my past. I know the negative behaviors that I have. It's a process in catching them and regulating them, and it becomes easier. Certain ones become automatic, other ones you have to work on harder. So it's just a question of wanting to do it.
Okay. Is there, because I think we probably overrun the time that we wanted to actually this conversation to last, but what can you do when things start being so interesting? I hope you find it interesting as well, because for me it was actually a very interesting conversation. But is there any final message you would like to leave to our viewers? Anything you would like to?
Yes, it is a fact. Change starts with ourselves. We are the only ones who can effect change within us. So when you're ready, when you feel there's something that you need to change, meditation is something where nobody tells you what to do or how to do it. Meditation depends on yourself. It is you who's got the control over it. So taking that first step is the difficult one. But when you take that first step, when you learn how to meditate, how to put yourself in a calm, serene, higher position, it helps you in all aspects of life. Like I said, you start in one area of your life, it starts affecting your relationships, it starts affecting your workplace, your productivity, your health, it starts affecting everything. So, my message is, meditation has really worked for me. It's really working. I really love it. That's it.
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay, man.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Bye. See you in the Portuguese version. Bye.